explorer, archaeologist, aristocrat, grave robber. All descriptions that have been assigned to the world-renowned raider of tombs, Lara Amelia Croft. For years she has travelled the world, uncovering creatures thought to be a myth, rediscovering incredible ancient artifacts, and even saving the world a time or two. But what if there was more to the atypical English lady than met the eye? Maybe Lara's talents were too useful to be wasted on merely chasing relics, and there were those who wanted to use them for a greater purpose. Gods had begun. Humanity had all players deep and challenging, different is less likely to get me horribly Born into the English upper class, Lara spent her youth studying at only the most prestigious institutions, rubbing shoulders with fame and royalty. Even from a young age though, Lara was not like the other members of high society. She was rebellious, adventurous, relishing the idea of travel and exploration, and these traits were only encouraged when famed archaeologist Werner von Croy taught at school. After a taste of the adventure she had so craved while staying with her family's butler in Ireland, Lara convinced her parents to arrange for her to accompany von Croy on his upcoming journey to Cambodia. Although her parents believed the trip would be educational at most, much to their chagrin, it would be what set Lara on the path she would take for the rest of her life. Here she would learn difficult lessons, gain the trusty backpack that would accompany her everywhere for over a decade and a half, and come to believe that she had lost the man who had become her inspiration. Upon her return, Lara would only deepen her love of all things adventurous, mastering advanced gymnastics, climbing, and any other extreme activity she could before the age of 20. But it was at the age of 21, while attending a Swiss finishing school, that Lara would be forged into the woman who would become the Tomb Raider. While returning from a skiing trip, Lara's plane would crash in the Himalayas, and the upper-class young woman would be thought to be dead, until she emerged 2 weeks later into a small village, beating all the odds and stripping away any remaining hint of her sheltered upbringing. Rather than deter her, the experience only spurred on her desire for life-threatening adventure. Her family would come to disown their unruly offspring, and Lara would begin writing to fund her trips. Even so, despite her fame, it is unlikely travel writing alone would pay enough to support her lavish lifestyle. Additionally, while primarily working alone, over the coming years there would be times when Croft would utilize more resources than should really be available to even her. Then there were the deaths, and for lack of a better term, international incidents. In the course of her adventures, Croft has caused more than a few problems across the world that governments would be less than pleased about. Not to mention killing a great many people in circumstances where the reasoning of self-defense would be more than strained. Could it be that there were certain parties who would smooth her actions over with the international community, ensure her crimes never reached the courts? Ones who deemed the usefulness of her skills to outweigh the trouble she caused. Parties such as the British Secret Service. For them, an individual of her adventurous nature, resourcefulness and determination, not to mention her connections with high society, would be an ideal asset. If this were the case, then it's likely that she was approached and recruited sometime in the early 1990s, after her initial adventures piqued the interest of some top-level officials. In the coming years, between her adventures, Croft would be utilised as an infiltrator, spy, and maybe even assassin, gaining further skills and contacts that she would go on to use in her own endeavours. This would explain how, among other exploits, Lara is able to gain entry to Jacqueline Natler's secure offices with such ease, why she seems at home with all sorts of advanced weaponry, and why she is so unfazed when gunning down her fellow human beings. On occasions it may have been that the Secret Service placed her in situations especially suited to her skills, such as to stop the Russian government obtaining the Spear of Destiny, or retrieving the Iris from Von Croy Industries, a mission Lara had personal stakes in, and one of the rare occasions where she was accompanied by agency tech support. After years of service, Lara's less than subtle adventures had started to become more of a hindrance for the agency overseers though, especially after her unsanctioned infiltration of Area 51, which would have resulted in extreme tensions with America. Maybe it would have actually been something of a relief to the service when Lara was thought to have perished in Egypt, and they were able to discharge her. It makes sense then that when she re-emerged some years later, only to be accused of her once mentor's murder, she no longer had the protection of the Secret Service, and as such was forced to go on the run. While eventually clearing her own name, if she were able to continue her old life, Lara would surely be found guilty of any number of crimes she would have once gotten away with. Then again, she still had a lot of friends out there, and maybe even now she manages to raid tombs, as she once had, continuing to save the world from ancient threats. A heroine in the shadows, the Angel of Darkness. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and want to support the channel, then please consider subscribing and hit that bell so that YouTube might possibly inform you when a new video comes out. If you want to go that bit further, please feel free to support the channel on Patreon or go and buy some merchandise on Spreadshirt and Teespring. Links are all down in the description. Other than that, have a great day and I'll see you next time.